Well, the GOP is in disarray, but there is a new knight in shining armor riding to the rescue for the party and the conservative freedom movement. His name? Karl Rove. He has started something called the Conservative Victory Project, a pact intended to, and I quote, counter other organizations that have helped defeat establishment Republican candidates over the last 2 election cycles. Now, gee, who do you think that might be? Let me translate bullcrap to English because I'm a recovering alcoholic and I've also spent a lot of time around politicians. I speak fluent bullcrap. Here it is. Make sure that the GOP establishment holds on to power and crush anyone that's in their way, including the Tea Party or any freedom movement. We're all expected to bow down at the altar of the architect, the man so brilliant he was somehow or another able to beat Al Gore. And not only Al Gore, John Kerry. 2 guys whose personalities are so dull they make watching continental drift seem exciting. This architect doesn't want anyone to actually remember that he lost the popular vote the first time to Al Gore, a guy who claimed he invented the internet and terrified America by this really, really disturbing kiss with his wife. And I mean, how did you lose the popular vote to that? He also wants you to forget that just last year, people gave him $500 million just to beat a failed president who's a socialist. And his big idea was to nominate the candidate who in the end said, you know what, I agree everything you're saying here on the war and everything else. Wait a minute, what? Where'd that come from? This is an architect who gave us a president who doubled the national debt from $5 trillion to $10 trillion, who led the Republican Party transformation into the Progressive Light Party with big spending cuts and bailout, otherwise known as TARP. Yes, the bank bailout was George W. Bush. Oh, and by the way, one of the side benefits of that, the country now largely hates Republicans and conservative ideas. Oh, by the way, one of the other things that I just love, the dandy GOP stalwart helped us get, is the fluorescent light bulb. That was also George W. Bush. Rove will say, oh, well, we support many Tea Party candidates. But what Rove does is he puts the premium on winning and not principle. Who cares what they believe as long as they win? He's still playing the establishment game. We end up fielding candidates with spines made of jello that will reshape to fit whatever mold is popular at the moment, and that doesn't do us any good. Following Karl Rove's idea this time would mean that people like Ted Cruz and Mike Lee would be out instead of in. And we'd get more Scott Browns and Lindsey Grahams. Well, I just love him. And a party in disarray because it doesn't stand for anything. Well, we've got to do something because the GOP is on fire. Well, he'll tell you that we're going to make the tent even bigger, more inclusive. But that is not true. First of all, let me give you 2 things about a tent. If you have a tent, the things that are the most important on a tent, not the little flag at the top, not the fabric, not the size of the door, or even the size of the tent. What is important are the stakes on the tent. Because without the stakes, the entire tent falls. They hold it up. Nobody can tell me what the stakes of the Republican Party even are. They represent our values and our principles. Oh, well, we've got a platform. I don't even know what your platform is. And you could be on the platform and talk about the platform all you want, but you violate it every single time. The only stake that is important to you is one that nobody in the end really cares about, and that is winning. So what if you win? You win what? And then what do? Well, we have to win again, so we'll just do whatever is popular. Well, I don't want to be in that tent. I don't know anybody that wants to be in that tent. I'm tired of that tent. Some of us actually believe in something. But that's why the tent is falling. That's why the Republicans can't seem to hold it up. They're saying, well, we should be more like the rest. We should be more moderate. We like the rest of the country. No, we shouldn't. At least not your definition, because I don't think you even know who the country is. Instead of redefining or replanting the stakes and giving the people a reason to come in, they just cut down the ropes of everybody else's tent. Well, nobody else will have a tent, and then they'll have to come into ours. That's I don't even know who those people are. We're not living in the old school GOP world that Karl Rove still lives in. I at least believe that both sides, not just the Democrats, both sides are responsible for the economic mess that we're in. They're both responsible for the war that is just never seeming to end. People are fleeing the parties, and they are standing somewhere in between. Now, let me give you conventional thinking, and then I'll show you what I think is happening. Here's the GOP and the DNC. They're right here. This is a scale of freedom. On this end is total anarchy. On this end is total government, fascism, communism, totalitarianism, the theocratic state. Whatever it is, total control on this side, total anarchy on that side. Freedom scale. The founders put our Constitution out here. Originally, the Articles of Confederation were here, but it was anarchy. It was too close to total freedom. So they had to move it here. The Occupy Wall Street movement, the libertarian, the on-the-edge libertarian that want the country to burn down, are over here in anarchy. Yeah, well, we'll fix it by, well, we'll have the total government collapse. That's a few nut jobs over here. And anarchists. Over here is the media, Hollywood, EDU, and also the real Occupy Wall Street. They are somewhere here from the moderates. They're somewhere over where the DNC is and closer to the communists. That's where they are. The GOP is here. They'll tell you, the media will tell you that these are the moderates, somewhere in between here. But I don't think that's where the moderate people are. The moderate people are leaving. Look, here's exactly what happened. The people in the DNC that occupy this space, I don't know, they went dead inside. Some of them left and became GOP members during the Clinton years. Some of them left and became GOP, now. And so they're over in this area. But these people they had a hostile takeover of what was called the New Party, and they became something else. They shapeshifted into bigger and bigger government people. And this scale is moving this way. And what Karl Rove is saying, hey, people aren't happy with the GOP, so we have to become more moderate and move this way to apparently this piece, which keeps moving towards bigger and bigger government. The people I know, at least, are sick of these guys. They don't like this solution, and they're sick of these guys. I mean, how many people voted last time? How many people voted? How many were there? How many people didn't vote in this country? That means this pool that refuses to play in here, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them. And more people from this half are jumping out. They don't want anything to do with it because they think these guys are too big of a government too. I'm one of them. So I jump in over here. This is the Tea Party. Somewhere between the Constitution and, I don't know, the smallest government GOP guy that you can think of. That's all of this. That space here. This is America. This is the opportunity. Why would we continue to play for a sliding scale that's moving farther and farther towards total government and is getting smaller and smaller? It doesn't make any sense. Most people are libertarian at heart. But if no one is defining it, it's like herding cats. And if you've ever tried to herd cats, they don't herd up. They don't stay together. And that's the real problem with libertarians. They don't stay together. Well, they're not designed to stay together, right? Because we're all individuals. It's the strongest part of the libertarian movement that we're independent, and that we chart our own course, and that shouldn't and couldn't ever be taken away. But in this case, the problem is that each one of the cats wants to say that their little litter box is the least smelly, and it's only the cats that use that litter box that belong to the cat family. Well, that defies the definition of liberty and libertarianism entirely. A libertarian believes in maximum freedom. Maximum freedom with just enough security to be able to hold a community together. It is also my understanding that a libertarian believes that if it neither picks my pocket nor breaks my leg, what difference does it make to me? That's Thomas Jefferson. But there are many in the Libertarian Party now, or Libertarian movement, that would cheer for the government to be burned down. That's not a libertarian, that is an anarchist. And that is somebody throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Wouldn't it be better if we understood that the Constitution is what holds us together? And then we start teaching people freedom principles. I am more libertarian today than I was 4 years ago. And even more libertarian than I was 8 years ago. The more I see, the more I learn, the more libertarian I become. Because I see what doesn't work. It's easy to make the case what doesn't work, but you have most of the country saying, yes, but what does work? And it's only have these choices. No, there's another choice. In 2001, when I said there have to be sunsets to the Patriot Act, I was worried about what could happen with the Patriot Act, but I said yes to sunsets because I really thought that people believed in the Constitution. I thought we all wanted people to be free and chart their own course, but boy, was I stupid. And now we have the Patriot Act without sunsets. And that wasn't just one party, it was both parties. I don't want my government in my bedroom or the boardroom. Get the hell out and leave us alone. But Karl Rove, he would say, try them, and you may, I say. No, I've tried them. I do not like your green eggs and ham. And for the first time in 100 years, I believe the libertarian movement could have their seat put back by the table. Everybody complains every 4 years, how come the libertarians aren't in? I wonder. Maybe it has to do with history and Woodrow Wilson and Theodore Roosevelt removing that chair from the table. And then the media and Hollywood and the political machine crushing the life out of anybody who says they're for freedom. And they don't want to play inside the little fenced area that the Republicans and the Democrat had fenced up. You, for the first time, have a chance to win the presidency in 2016. You could have real libertarians in record numbers in Congress. If we teach libertarianism, if we teach what it means to be free, and if those of us who are moving closer and closer to it learn it, and you're welcomed into the tent, we have more in common as people than we have different. And I mean that with people who are die-hard Democrats. We have more in common than we have. It's different. And as long as we have the Constitution, man was endowed with certain inalienable rights, among them life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and you're not going to violate these things in the Constitution, boy, we can come together. And it's our differences that make us strong. We don't have to be all alike. Remember, e pluribus unum, out of many, one. The secret is to try to find enough people that are willing to find common ground and put those stakes in the ground and maybe pitch a tent. New principles that seem new to everybody, but they are the oldest principles in the book.